And proud sponsors here of the realest sports talk show in the Northwest, Game Time Sports Talk, 206-325-1420. Your hotline numbers in Seattle, Martin Luther King Jr. County, as well as in Tax City, Pierce County, points south, and points beyond, including on the World Wide Web, or we're live streaming at www.ztwins.com, 206-329-7881. A happy Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. weekend to all of our game timers out there, and especially to Commando Dave. Game time, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, JB and KB?
How you doing, Commando?
Man, I'm doing good. Give a quick shout out to Big P, doing good on a Seahawkless Blue Friday. I'll say the only good thing about this Seahawkless Blue Friday is it's the Friday before the joint celebration of President Barack Obama's inauguration of a second term, on the day the nation celebrates the memory, legacy, and birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King in the 50th year of the March on Washington.
Well said. Well said. And by the way, me and Big P still got our blue on. Yeah, I turned it into purple Friday as long as the Huskies are undefeated in the Pac-12.
No, that's why I called it a Seahawkless Blue Friday. You know, the second good thing is you can wear what you want to wear. How about that?
Oh, there you go.
and not get your chuck.
Sports, man. What's going on?
Huh?
What's up with the fog in sports?
I don't know. What do you mean?
I mean, bizarre stories.
Oh, well, yeah.
My curiosity, and I've had, it's just, I can't believe that there's people that don't think that this is not going to affect Manti Te'o's draft status, because you talk about the middle linebacker position, and that being basically keen to, of course, the quarterback position on offense, where you have to direct and make calls and things of that nature. You got to make decisions, if you will, and that more than any other position. If he would have been any other position
on the defense,
on the football field,
except quarterback.
Except quarterback, I think that it definitely does makes a difference. What's your thoughts on this whole mess? You know, catfishing, dupe, hoax, whatever you want to call it, having an effect on his draft status.
Well, I think it definitely will have some, just from the standpoint of, you know, how a story like this blows up and then kind of blows out of proportion, put it that way. So it can't help but to have some type of effect on it. It obviously has some type of effect on him in that BCS championship game against Alabama.
Absolutely.
He just wasn't the same player, and, you know, I haven't really followed this particular story that much, you know, but from what I have learned, he kind of was perpetuating that story a little bit after he even found out of what the deal was. So you make an excellent point that, you know, maybe that plays into the embarrassment factor of it, but it just plays into the, you know, keeping it real on the realest sport, like you're on Game Time, and you know, come clean when you have the opportunity. The one thing I will say is, I'll echo what you mentioned earlier about bringing in the name Tuiasosopo, because, of course, as soon as you hear that name, ears perk up, and I went straight to Google, and now you confirmed that he's the perpetrator of the hoax is part of the Tuiasosopo family that we know.
Right. And
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, absolutely, and like I said, it's spoiling a great name, not only here locally, but just, like I said, to the Polynesian community.
Yep.
Right, yeah, no question about it. And then, you know, to me, it's still Football Friday, so I do want to get to the championship game. But let me just touch on the watching this Lance Armstrong story play out for you know, more than a decade.
Take out the trash.
You know, this is a matter of the thrill of victory actually being the agony of defeat. You know, watching Don Vito, Lance Armstrong last night, you know, led me to think of two guys and two guys only: Richard Nixon and Chris Rock.
Wow.
Now, President.
Contrasting people. Yeah, I want to hear this one.
I knew that'd make your ears perk up now.
Yeah.
If President Richard Milhouse Nixon taught us anything, it's if you muck up, buck up. The sooner the better, and the bigger the muck up, make it sooner than later. You know, and if you're in check, don't let it get to checkmate. And had Nixon come clean, Watergate probably would have just been a speed bump in the D.C. hotel's parking lot. It wasn't the burglary. It was the cover-up that led to his disgraceful chopper exit from the White House lawn, flashing his patented peace out sign for the last and final time. And, you know, obviously he's a bad chess player, because had Richard Nixon just come clean when he was in check, all the president's men, inside and outside of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, would have just said, well, you know, he's tricky Dick, but this trick didn't work, so get over it. And presto, it would have probably most likely been over. And if Woodward and Bernstein taught us anything, is if you let it get to checkmate, the truth will hunt you down and you will regret it. And from the East German women's Olympic team, to Ben Johnson, to Chicks Dig the Long Ball, to Milli Vanilli, to Rocky IV, to the 7 straight Tours of France, the steroid thing has just been an interesting story to watch, with Lance Armstrong being one of the most central and figure heads of it.
But celebrated.
Exactly, that's what I mean. But here's how I really kind of wind it up. Okay. In my book, if you have testicular cancer with a 40% chance to live, and win the Tour de France once, let alone 7 times, I believe any and all, and KB, back me up on this, any and all Monopoly players would agree you have one get-out-of-jail-free card, a one-time mea culpa. And Lance Armstrong told Oprah last night that after his 7th win, it was the first time they handed the mic to the winner, and he didn't know what to say. And in my estimation, I realize it's in hindsight, but here's what Lance Armstrong coulda, shoulda, woulda said instead of what he did say. If he just come out and say, hey, thank you, this 7th win ends a hell of a ride, and I have an announcement to make. I know I would not have been allowed to compete, nor would I have been physically capable of competing, so I purposely used PEDs and willingly hid it, but I did so for the furtherance of the medical research that is now available by using myself as a human guinea pig. Not only have I been able to conquer cancer, we have shown through super sensitive and highly secretive research, even a cancer survivor with less than a 50% chance of living can not only live a full life, but also compete at the highest level you choose for your life. For mine, I chose the Tour de France. Vive la France, live strong, and then dropped the mic like Chris Rock and walked off the stage. Come on, tell me that wouldn't have worked. He would have got out of that.
I got that. And see, that's the main thing that sticks in the back of my mind about the whole Lance Armstrong story. Was this the way? Is this how he beat cancer? Like you said, you know, he used anything, and there has been proven, as far as proven treatments for cancer through PED.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
has been used,
and that's why I'm a proponent of making some of these things legal, especially if it is going to fight, if not cure, diseases like that and AIDS.
Right.
So with that being said, and you could throw Magic Johnson up in there, as well. But with that being said, that's where I go to, and and I don't know, and I don't know if this is an excuse now, but it should have been an explanation then. Just to piggyback on your point, if in fact this is how he believes that he beat cancer, and he continued to take it thereafter because of it, I really don't, and to continue to keep that disease at bay, especially knowing it, and my family, those who are of course going to be laid to rest here in a matter of days, and not only that, for those who I know, family and friends who are fighting it right now, tooth and nail, more power to them. If these are methods used to fight and extend their life, they got to do it.
Well, my whole issue, I understand what you're saying and talking about, bettering the body or helping the body heal through a traumatic time and things of that nature. And I've heard the argument, like, in the sport of cycling, this is common ground. to do it at a more elaborate level than anyone else on the tour. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens had the means to do it in a more elaborate way than anybody else in Major League Baseball. They're not all on the same level playing field.
At what point? At what point did they achieve that? When did Lance Armstrong achieve that? When he won the first Tour de France title? I mean, come on, he wasn't competing with he was competing with others that had won it before.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
And when did Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds do that?
Well, allegedly they didn't start using steroids until after they were already pretty much superstars and were getting paid $1 million per pitch and per hit. But yeah, I mean,
so where did Lance Armstrong have the means before that? That's my question with that. You know, I hear where you're coming from. Go ahead, Commando, address that.
Well, KB is making an excellent point, and you're countering with an equally excellent point, JB. The unfortunate thing about this is, you know, we look at a guy like Lance Armstrong, and we see many things, and one of the things that we see what capitalism has become.
Absolutely.
We're looking at the face of American capitalism, and sports has become one of the biggest generators in that particular system of, you know, government and economics. And that's the unfortunate thing about this story, is that it just came down. The reason that he could not drop the mic like Chris Rock and walk off the stage with it really being about cancer and what he's doing now that he's out of the game, and what he's proved that you can do as a cancer survivor with a less than 50% chance of survival for living, winning. And the money just became the all-consuming motivating factor for him, and that is why we've had the financial problems that we've had economically in this country and reverberated around the world in the last decade, is because of what America has become, you know, victim of its own success, and the ends always justify the means. Because, you know, to me, when he said, you know, scarier and scariest, to me it was the most realer than real deal Holyfield part of the entire interview, because that's a guy who kept it real right there, like he was on Game Time, and said didn't matter. Winning was the only thing that mattered. And so that's where we've come in as a country, and that's where we've come definitely in sports.
At all costs. Well, he's to be in a sport like cycling, you have to be a very determined person in the first place.
Very disciplined.
And to win 7 tours, you have to be a very determined person, which means not only are you determined physically, you're determined mentally,
right,
to try to expunge all the negative things that people are saying about you, to the point where you're actually taking people to court.
Right.
So you're that determined. It's just it's a part of his personality, and it ended up being his downfall at the end.
Has it really been his down?
Right now,
honestly, y'all, because
his tours have been stripped, his medals have been stripped.
It doesn't matter. That's just like taking USC's national championship, whoever you want to take away. It still happens. It still happens.
Yeah, but the difference is Reggie Bush and Pete Carroll and Reggie Bush's parents still got the money. And Lance Armstrong has opened himself up. I will say this for Lance Armstrong.
If he's earned so much money, he can give a lot of that back.
We'll see. Yeah, you make an excellent point there. I'll give it up to Oprah for coming out just firing fastballs straight down the pipe. Give it up to Lance Armstrong for hitting line shots, you know, right back to her. Been a lot of controversy that, you know, he controlled the interview a little bit more than, you know, Oprah did. And then if you saw Anderson Cooper, his teammate's wife was, you know, was just livid about it. But see, the thing is, what people, and then you know, I saw a CIA guy today on CBS this morning. Everybody, well, is he telling the truth? Is he this? Is he this? What you have to understand, we're looking straight into the face. He looked up cheating. While he was looking up cheating, I looked up sociopath. And we are looking, you look up sociopath, every word that goes along with that definition, you can attach it to Lance Armstrong. We're looking in the face of a sociopath. Lance Armstrong, he can say he doesn't remember this, or he can't remember that, or this didn't happen, but you know what? The mafia killers, they don't know where all the bodies are. And when you're a sociopath and you telling lies the way that you have, and just like Oprah said, hey, you suing people and you know they telling the truth, what is that? When you're doing that kind of stuff, you don't remember. It's a pile of 14 years of lies. And you can say it's one big lie, but it's one big lie made out of 14 years of lies, and that adds up to I just can't remember anymore.
Wow.
But I will say this.
Or Mary come on and say that yesterday. You know, you can't remember the first lie you told after her. You know?
Thank you. I'll say this to and wrap up on this before I get to the championship game and wrap up. You know, there's a lot to say for coming clean and, you know, how you come clean, quite frankly. And in these instances, the only guy to me that has really come clean is Andy Pettit. You know, you go back to Pete Rose, the guy wrote a book and then went on 2020 to promote the book to get what I'm not going to say on 2020. Jason Giambi apologized for something that didn't happen. And then Tiger Woods sent his body double robot out for a press conference. And so,
Same with A-Rod, he didn't necessarily come clean.
I forgot about that guy, thank you. And the list goes on and on. You know, the funny thing about Lance Armstrong was when this thing came out with this last report, with the cycling report, USADA, I thought he said, hey, I'm not going to say anything. It's behind me. It's over. And if he had kept that, you know, Barry Bonds type kind of silence, it would have been one thing. But I will give him the due of sitting down with Oprah Winfrey, and because Oprah Winfrey does have a way of, you know, getting you to say certain things, and so some of that stuff was pretty revealing and pretty compelling. Like I said, when she hit him right off the top, pow, 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 pow. So.
Garden pitcher. Like she had 100. She was on a 112 pitch count too. So it had 112.
Right. So all the stuff that everybody's saying he didn't say is layers. You got to let this thing play out. You got to give it to the guy just going to Oprah Winfrey and saying what he said in the first 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's your take on the conference championship game? Great.
Man, before I get to that, right quick, I'm glad you guys hit the Lovie Smith. It doesn't have a job deal. The Bears went 10-6. They were one of only 8 teams. I should say only 8 teams had records better than, you know, 10-6.
True.
And the coaches of the Philadelphia Eagles 4-12, the 5-11 Arizona Cardinals guys got jobs, and the Dallas Cowboys at 8-8 didn't even get fired. So, you know, the thing is, they talk that Rooney Rule stuff, you know, a good game for a minute, and then when it really comes down to it, and there's 8 coaching positions open, wasn't really a lot of Rooney Rule talk being talked.
Can I ask this though, on the flip side of it, how much of that had to do with Lovie Smith being in a position to where he can pick the job, or the job that he wants to interview now at this point, that he's been a 9-year head coach?
Well, that's great, and if Lovie Smith, if that's how his cards are being played, more power to him. I prefer him being on TV and saying that exact same thing. Hey, that Rooney Rule is real, and you know, I went in to interview with this guy. Even if the NFL could even do themselves a better service on the Rooney Rule deal, just put the NFL network cameras out there and film everyone that's going in and out like they kind of used to do, but they just for some reason kind of gotten away from showing guys in and out of the building. And you made an excellent point, man. Andy Reid got fired, you know, one day, and 2 days later, man, guys, you know, flying across the country and poof, fired.
You know, and I think to your point about it's hard to follow and find where these interviews are
taking place. They're so secretive now.
Right.
They don't take place at the facilities anymore. These guys fly out to wherever they might be, meet at a secret location, and why? Because of the media at hand and the social media that's out there today.
No, that's an excellent point.
One of the things I would like to see happen is when when African American coaches do get jobs there in the NFL, to employ more African American coordinators and give those guys opportunities to interview for head coaching jobs. I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Marlo. Do you want to see the Rooney Rule extended to the coordinator position? No, because I think that the coaches should have, the carte blanche to do what they want. Exactly.
They got to have that.
Yeah. So, but I agree. I mean, it's kind of like, once you get over the wall, don't pull the ladder up on me, or toss the rope back over is what I'm saying for some of these head coaches out there. I mean, Lovie Smith went through he went through a slew of offensive coordinators there to try to produce something that was going to get them some points. I mean, they had a great defense. They needed to score points. He had about 3 or 4 offensive coordinators coming through there, and not one of them was African American.
Interesting point there. Commando, your thoughts on the game?
Man, right to the game. I couldn't agree with KB anymore for his reasoning for taking the Falcons. Shoot. You've seen me over the years go up and down on the conference division, type kind of thing. Where if it's the Huskies, I'm going to cheer for. I'm going to go, within the state. And then I'm going to go conference, that type of thing. But you've also seen me cheer for the Boston Celtics because they had Ray Allen against the Los Angeles Lakers that were in the same conference as the team formerly known as the Seattle Supersonics. Having said all of that, I would normally cheer for the division. But in this case, I couldn't agree more that the team that you lost to, if they go on and become the Super Bowl champ, then as we talked about last time I was on, the window and paths to the Super Bowl are wide, and this year we got a little bit narrow on the pathway. Well, you can say that it kind of led through Seattle. So
it did kind of, but at the same time, I want to see the Harbaugh Bowl happen, and I want to see San Francisco get beat on the biggest stage.
I was one of the biggest San Francisco 49er fans growing up because they had my favorite all-time football player,
and they weren't in your
Rice.
Division of your
and they
favorite
weren't in the division of my other, of course, the Seahawks being my other favorite team. Once they moved into the division with each other, I thought it was going to be tough, to be able to separate that. Jim Harbaugh has made it very easy for me to hate the 49ers. Absolutely. So I did the same thing when the Arizona Cardinals went to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. I did not want to root for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but at the same time, I did not want the Arizona Cardinals to accomplish what the Seahawks couldn't.
I agree.
Oh man, that's an excellent point.
For the Steelers in that.
Right.
Doing the same thing here with the 49ers. I don't want the 49ers to go and accomplish what the Seahawks couldn't. So go and do your thing, dirty birds.
Well, I'm with you on that, KB. But as the backup, JB, I'm completely with you on the Harbaugh deal. So it's one of those, when you're, losing type kind of deals, because that does bring out an interesting storyline as well. Because of on the flip side, as I said from Wild Card Weekend, I roll with the Baltimore Ravens.
Because honestly, it looks more like the championship team. Be honest with me.
Between Atlanta and 49ers?
Yeah, 49ers.
49ers do.
And that's what I look at.
Holding out hope.
Well, that's fine, and I guess I look at defense, I look at just personalities, and I think the same thing as far as New England. And, as great as Tom Brady is and whatnot, New England is always up there in the mix, and you give them credit for that. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 9 years. Okay?
Yeah, that's funny.
Twice, with that. And Baltimore, they're a gritty bunch. If you want, if you will, a blueprint as far as to keep a nucleus together and how to build a team or a franchise, look no further than the Baltimore Ravens and what they've been able to do. But obviously they had a
part of that is having Ray Lewis.
Absolutely,
having a play with a guy like Ray Lewis.
Yeah, but you have to have glue guys. Got to have glue guys in the locker room, and I think that's what the Seahawks are embarking on right now.
And I'll say this, man, before I get off, you just kind of got underneath I was trying to get on and off without getting too heated up, but I must say you just kind of got underneath my collar there, JB, with asking about which team is a more championship type kind of team between the Falcons and the 49ers. We all agreed the 49ers. And then you had to go and say, because of their defense, because we watched the team last week, Armstrong last night. We watched the team last week give up a 27-7 lead with 17 minutes left in the game.
Thank you.
You just reminded me of that. Even though at the onset I said it's a Seahawks Football Friday, Blue Friday, but man, it's a tough one. Let me just end with the great year that the Seahawks have, man. It's too bad. It's a crying shame, in fact. There's no need of coming back from 28 to 27 with 31 seconds left in the game if you're not going to win the game. In the year if you play to win the game, that was a game you played to win in the last 17 minutes and should have won that game. The first game of the season, they should not have lost to the Arizona Cardinals. And in the last game of the season, they should have beat the Atlanta Falcons. Man, go Falcons if it works out, 49ers, but definitely go Ravens. Cannot stand the Patriot Act being in another Super Bowl, and you make an excellent point. They haven't been there for 9 years, so let's have it be a Ray day.
All right, that definitely works for me. Hey, Commando, have a great King Holiday weekend. We'll definitely catch you on the other side. Enjoy the game.
Roger that, you guys. Always good being on with you.
All right.
Thank you.